Armand.
Here.
Casey.
Here.
Rick. Allison.
Here.
Nick.
Here.
Gabe.
Here.
Braden.
Here.
Right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Right into our presentations for tonight. I want to thank all the directors for doing this. Might have been a little bit my brainchild, so sorry, you can blame me. But I think it's really helpful for new members and myself even to be refreshed all at once on the different roles everyone plays. And so this can be briefer, which Erin has obviously told you, and then we'll get the more in-depth pieces throughout the year as you present. But again, thank you for being here tonight, so that we can learn about the important role you all play in our district. Or yeah, you kick it off. Showstopper.
I put him there.
I know.
You're already a minute behind.
It was a
random draw.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Big button?
That guy?
Okay. All right, well, I am Maury Gallagher. I'm the Buildings and Grounds Director. I've been with the district 17 years. I know most of you, I kind of went through this a little bit a couple months ago, but I'll go into a couple other details that I might not have mentioned on my last presentation. So the overview of my responsibilities, in a nutshell, basically oversee and manage all district facilities and grounds. That would include staffing, training, safety, purchasing, working with our architecture firm, anything with construction and planning for the district. I'm also the district representative for our architecture team. So any projects that we have to have design services on, I am the point of contact for our architect firm. I'm a construction representative for various past and current projects. I also manage the PEPL and SAVE project schedules and budgets. I oversee 40 members of our buildings and grounds team, and I'm responsible for maintenance and custodial planning. I'm a member of the facilities planning committee and the safety committee. And I also oversee the outside group usage of facilities. So any of the youth sports teams, things like that, all flow through the buildings and grounds department to oversee that. This is just a rundown of our department structure. I have 2 managers that report directly to me, our custodial and maintenance manager and our grounds manager. And then we also have a administrative assistant for our department, and the rest of the team reports to each individual building manager on the custodial side, and then the custodians report to those department heads at each site. And then of course all of our groundskeepers report directly to the grounds manager, and then on up to me if needed. So that's a little bit of our structure of our team. Our district facilities at a glance: we have 9 attendance centers, over 820,000 square feet of building space that occupy over 200 acres of regularly maintained ground, and we have 14 trucks and 1 van for our department. So quite a bit of things to oversee there. So the budgeting and funding sources that we generally work out of, main one would be the general fund. That's where all of our staffing, our general equipment repair, our routine building maintenance, custodial supplies, and utilities, those all come out of the general fund. Then we have the PEPL fund, which is physical plant equipment levy. So that would be for buildings and grounds improvements, equipment purchasing, things of that nature. Generally, they would be in the price point of where we wouldn't require public bidding for these type of things. So any type of improvements that would be under that public bidding threshold. Then we have the SAVE budget that we work out of, which is secure and advanced vision for education. That's a 1 cent sales tax funding source. So that's for large scale projects, roof improvements, building additions, large HVAC upgrades, things of that nature. Typically items that we'd have design services on, we'd public bid things like that. That's what SAVE is. Then we also indirectly work out of the management fund. So that's where our building insurances are paid out of. We have a policy that's called a break fix insurance. So what we can do is we can get reimbursed for repairs on certain items like custodial equipment. I know Kale uses it for computer repairs, things like that. So what that does with that reimbursement, it saves from coming out of the general fund. So we do operate out of that with a lot of our equipment in the buildings grounds. So this one, I would ask Catherine to come up with me. It's kind of a two-part here. So as part of our strategic plan, we had a task for us, a goal, so to speak, and it is based off or contributes to the environment of the district. And our goal is to provide a safe, connected, and supportive environment for all. So my focus was on the facility side of things. So essentially your physical environment. So some of the items that we have done and that we're going to do would be like the security cameras, which is a SLFRF grant. That is the state and local fiscal recovery. I knew I needed this cheat sheet. Yep. Fiscal recovery funds grant. This was my whole presentation last time I did this. So anyway, that was we had quite a number of improvements from a safety and security standpoint. I like to say that we have now just completed all those items as of last month, which it's been several years in the making for that. We've had safety surfacing and playground improvements. With the safety surfacing, obviously that provides a safe fall surface for students and also improves the environment for all their playgrounds. Roofing improvements, I have that in there because we can't have a healthy environment if we have roofs that are leaking and water draining into the buildings. And then some other things like the radon safety plan, we've incorporated that. All of our buildings have been tested. All of our buildings are at a safe level. So, and then the last thing on there, high school and middle school admissions, because we're creating more programming space, more opportunities for students. So with that, Catherine has hers that she'll.
Yeah, so to create a good environment, we also want to think about the people in that environment. And so one of the things that we're looking at is we'll look at the state data that we receive back with all the comparables and make sure that we're falling in line with benefits, pay, all of those different types of things. And then we use the state fall staffing reports, and I'll go over that more when I have my presentation. But then we also complete an ALICE training. We did this August, and then a safety week that we did in October. And then we'll have our next safety committee meeting in January to kind of go over more data and to get some more surveys out to see if it's working or not, what we can improve on.
So with that, any questions?
I think I should have announced this earlier, I meant to. Well, if you have questions just to keep things moving, jot them down, and then we'll follow up either with board leadership and Aaron, and he can get out to people. You're off the hot seat tonight, Mark. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Just started.
All right, so we're the one fleet. My department fuels that fleet. So to give you a kind of an overview, I kind of oversee all of the aspects of the nutrition plan or nutrition program, from recruiting and hiring and training, building menus that comply with the federal and state regulations but are still appealing to our kids and adults, because we offer food to them as well, completing the required documentation, overseeing procurement and inventory levels, ensuring food safety, financial oversight. I also process all the free and reduced applications that come in and do debt collection for our overdue accounts. And then I am a co-chair for the wellness committee and also on the facilities planning committee. Our budget, so we're unique in that we're completely self-funded. So what we generate for revenue is what pays our bills. We do use some Pebble funds, and I think we've used some flex funds to pay down our student debt, but otherwise we try to be 100% self-funded. We're currently coming out of 2 years of spending, so typically we like to see 2 months of revenue sitting in our account, and we're a little bit below that. So we're working on leveling that off and bringing that back up. Our overall budget is 1.8 million. All right, so we instituted a career pathway this year. So we have cook cashiers and a food service assistant, and then we move up to the head cook, kitchen managers, and then kitchen managers of our buildings that have a la carte. So this way we generate, we're promoting growth within our program and helping with retention. Overall, I have about 30 employees plus 8 subs. Here's our goals for this year. One of those is to increase parent knowledge of our program. We added a little bit to our website so that parents can see what a full tray looks like, what happens when kids have the option to elect not to take items, because we offer to students and they get to accept whatever they want within reason. We are working to move our breakfast menu more toward a protein-based menu instead of sugar-based. We're adding a catering program and we're working through that right now so that we could do like classroom parties. We're working on something at Amana to bring the community in to potentially have lunch with us once a week. And then we're working on balancing the workloads in all of our buildings. And I think that's all I have. I tried to be short and sweet.
Okay, perfect. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Lori, you're up.
Okay. So, as the Executive Director of Finance and the SBO for the district, these are a few of my responsibilities and duties. And I kind of stayed high level. There's a lot of daily and fine details that go into the job that I do. And I want to first of all say it's not entirely me that's doing all of this. I have a great team, and I feel my team kind of extends throughout the entire district because every building has financial things going on, policy, procedures, types things. So I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I can take credit for all that goes on. Direct and implement fiscal programs and services. So again, that's kind of a district-wide thing. I work to prepare and manage the annual budget. That's both the certified budget and the line item budgets. And as we get more into budget season, you'll learn a little bit more of the differences, and budget season will be coming up very soon. Also, I direct and monitor the financial operations to maintain and control and analyze full adherence to board policies and procedures, which also includes then establishing a system for internal controls and periodic audits. So that we know that our policies and procedures are working. Also provide leadership for the development, maintenance, enhancements, and continual improvement to our business processes and systems. I serve on the superintendent's cabinet and assist all members, anyone in the district at any point in time with long-term strategic planning, any financial questions, input, data, anything that I can provide for any of those folks. Also work to complete our certified annual report every year, and then consequently with the auditors to produce our audit each year. And any other reports that are required at the state and local levels to maintain compliance with the laws and the regulations. Serve on the district negotiation team. I manage the property and casualty insurance program. I already mentioned the auditors is part of the conversations when we talk about long-term capital projects and any types of appropriate financing methods. And I also have the responsibility of making sure that we spend our bond and do all of the debt-related reporting that's necessary for our general obligation and safe bonds. I also am the board secretary, and so you are very well aware of some of the things I do in regards to that part of my job. I'm responsible for the agendas and work together with the superintendent and the board leadership team to produce those, to get them posted in timely manners, to get them published in the newspapers, to comply with open meeting laws and in all of those types of things that go along with board meetings and minutes. I also arrange when it's school election time. I coordinate with the county commissioner to make sure we get all of our paperwork submitted and all of those types of things in a timely manner. I have to admit, I told Kale I have a typo in my presentation. I'm used to working with numbers, not so much the alphabet. So I'm going to use that as my disclaimer. Anyway, that goes along with publishing all of the minutes and the claims, bills that you guys approve and all those types of things. Any legal notices for public hearings, budgets, elections, bond sales, competitive bids, any types of those things fall under the board secretary role. I also countersign with the board president all the warrants and the interest-bearing bonds that are issued. And also attest to the board president's signature on all legal contracts and agreements. Again, coordinate with the process of policy review of procedures and recommendations if there's anything that needs to be changed in those policies and procedures. Also, I'm considered the custodian of district records, so that kind of involves our retention time frame that we have, our policies, again, student records, all those things. Again, I'm not the only person doing this. There's a number of people involved in all of that. Along with the board secretary, I am also appointed as the board treasurer. Now I went too far. Nope. So I oversee the district investment portfolio to ensure proper and maximum return on investments based on the board policy. I'm responsible for the receiving and paying out of funds for expenses approved by the board. I monitor the cash flow needs, and is the responsibility of the treasurer to maintain accurate accounting records for each fund and provide monthly financial reports. And just as an addition, I'll put in here, some of the goals for the finances at the district this year would be to continue to work on our UAB and our solvency ratios. Our solvency ratio is going in a positive direction, and as you are all aware, our UAB needs some attention. So that's our goal, to get to June 30 and see an increase in our UAB.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah.
I think there's room we could add a little bit more to you.
Think a little more?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that up next.
Ooh, the other Lori. You did this randomly and got the Loris back to back?
Yep, yeah, it's the Lori show.
Okay.
All right, well, you all saw me last month. So
Yeah, I know. When you were doing it last month, I was like, oh, sorry.
yeah, sorry. Would you like to do it for me?
No.
All right, we'll jump into it here. All right, so as Director of Communications, I lead the strategic planning of internal and external marketing and promotion for the district to enhance and promote who we are. So we provide clear and relevant messaging, produce our brand, high quality promotions between the school district and the community. And this is working with all of our leaders in the district and our building principals as well. Have a systematic approach to responses and difficult topics. We don't just jump. It may take us a few minutes to get some responses, but a response out to the public, but that's because we have to step back and look at everything that's going on. We offer and gather community feedback as needed. As when we need surveys, we send those out, we gather the information, and just in the various committees I serve on to, we listen, it's two-way communication, and we develop a lot of our response and information based on that too. I sit on the facilities committee, the SIAC. Of course, Lori mentioned our cabinet meeting, which without all of these directors, I wouldn't have the information. I need to do my job too, so it's important that we all collaborate and work together. And then we identify our key audiences and reach them where they are most engaged. And as you can imagine, that changes all the time on how to reach people. But our parents directly get most commonly emails from us directly into their inbox. Maintain relationships with our media outlets. I'm the main contact, the first contact at the district, whether it's for requests or PR stories or whatnot. And then I coordinate that within the district on who I feel is the best representative or the best person to talk to them. Managing the branding for consistency, integrity, and positive messaging. This is important for us, just to for a district in general, to make sure that we're all consistent on how we're doing our messaging and how we look and are perceived from the community and public eye. And then emergency crisis communication. That's not always the fun part of the job, but it's an important part of the job. And that usually involves working with a team of people when that occurs. If it happens in the building, they are dealing with what's the topic or whatever the crisis is, and I'm helping get the communication out for them. All right. And then I'm also on the safety team too, which most of us are. I kind of went over this last month too, but these are all the different platforms that we can communicate through at the district level. Our websites are by far our biggest resource for any new family or anybody looking at CCA. So naturally, that is where we want to update and keep information relevant and important to what their needs might be. Like Lori mentioned, she has legally required information that goes that needs to be sent out. I also post on the website. We have legally required things that need to be on the website at all times. Missy has things, other departments have things. So we all work together to make sure that we have everything that we need for state, federal, and the Iowa Department of Education. It's a group effort. Mass communication, that's where the system that through Final Site that we send out most of our messaging district-wide. Buildings also use that, building principals, and we have some directors that send out their own messages as well for internal reasons. But that is also where our crisis communication goes out. So we can do the phone call, text, email, and social media all at one time, and it can get elevated to a quicker pool throughout, because these companies serve nationwide school districts throughout the nation, and so it is where our communication in an emergency situation gets elevated and can go out faster. The mobile app is also through Final Site. So the Final Site does our websites, mass communication, and mobile app. Remind is a tool that we started a couple of years ago for two-way communication, more for our texting. It was, we initiated a contract so we could have oversight of our text messaging that is being sent from students to teachers or coaches, staff in general. And it's also a great tool for anybody to get communication in the language of their preference. Let's see, newsletters. Probably a lot of you are all very familiar with our newsletters that go out, whether from the district or from the buildings. We try to send out a district community newsletter every 2 weeks. Staff newsletter goes out every week, and then building newsletters usually go out every Friday too. And then district social media, that's where we try to hit high level, the fluff and the fun, things that happen throughout the district. Important information we really need to make sure all of our parents see, because not everybody's on social media, comes through our Final Site system, so that we're assured that they're getting the information through the contact information they have given us at registration, which is why we continue to hound them to make sure they update their contact information. All right. And these are some of the projects I talked about that are in the works. New this year for me is really diving into some more of the mapping of our registration process, just making sure from a content and customer service standpoint that we're not that we're not stumbling or things are confusing, and just making sure that it's easy for our parents to start and finish the process. And we're also getting everything we need out of it. There are some things that have gotten missed, and no person's fault. It's just that those things happen, and we just need to make sure we're bringing a bigger team of people to review the process. So we currently do have a team that is reviewing that. Also, really starting to get Nick, I feel like I'm back into my destination marketing, and I'm loving that part of it. So looking at our district as a destination and a place to be for the community and the region, we want to set CCA apart, and we want to just make sure that people keep us in mind. They see the great things that we're doing, and so really starting to ramp up some marketing and district level things within our websites and social media. Most of that will be through digital and trying to reach them as best as we can, because those are younger parents that probably are primarily on social media, looking at trying to catch those younger students too, so we can keep them here for those through graduation. And then I'll just jump here to This is some of the strategic plan updates or things that I use to also meet the goals. Community engagement is a big part of making sure that people are watching and listening and learning what CCA does. And so I think you've all seen when we do these staff and student recognitions, we pack the house, and that is getting a lot of good feedback from people that are involved with it. And this year it's a little different because we're getting all staff involved in the voting process. So they're more aware and they're watching better. The other community engagement, working with building principals to track their PLP attendance. What can we do to help with that from my angle? And then event activity attendance, whether it's the fall play or the musical, trying to track our numbers and seeing what we can do to help fine arts. And like I mentioned, the promotion of marketing and marketing of our events and enrollment. Open enrollment and registration are the top two right now. And then gathering community input to make better decisions. And then our CCA community backpack flyers, I just kind of put that on there as sometimes that gets lost. But that is also, it's our branch to the community where they can put things on our website and we share that out to the community for others to get involved with their activities or events that they have for our students and our families. I think that's it. Oh, and my staff. That's me.
Thank you, Lauren.
I'll leave the remote.
Hi, Benny.
First, hopefully everybody had a safe morning this morning, a little touch and go with the fog and quite a bit of more slick spots, I think, than I was aware of that early, kind of a short window. So hopefully it's been a safe morning for everybody. Privileged to work with this group of directors, I will say that. Takes a team, obviously, and each one of us does a phenomenal job, I think, every day with serving our students. So as transportation director, primary duties is to develop and maintain a safe and efficient transportation system, allowing our students the option to take full advantage of educational opportunities and offered through curricular and extracurricular activities. Supervising the operation of school buses, vans, our fleet maintenance, and pupil transportation, including the supervision of employees, which we'll get some numbers here shortly. Some of this I pulled from my fall report. And doing all this with some fiscal integrity and interpersonal relationships, managing staff. I think it's a big task with all of our directors in terms of getting good people doing great things for our students. That's the biggest thing that I think in the relationship part of what's the transportation director and probably the other directors too, getting good people doing great things. From the fall of 2025, kind of leading into 2026, these are some of the numbers that we deal with. Number of students we transport, closing in on 2,000. I think over break, I think we're up maybe 20 to 25 additional students. I'm not sure how many left. I don't see that, but pretty soon we'll be at 2,000 students probably assigned to routes every day. And we're holding right about 60 routes each day, 24 special ed, or that's 60 regular and 24 special ed. The 55 drivers that I have, a big goal that is on my plate this year is to reduce overtime. Of those 55, I have maybe 5 that enjoy weekend work or evening work. So it's a challenge to reduce that overtime piece. That's a big thing this year we're looking at. So 55, I'd love to see that at 60, 65. That would help. Maybe bring out a few more that are willing to do some of those outside the regular school day activities. I have 2 mechanics, Derek and John, and a secretary, Carrie. We just had our biannual fleet inspection over break. And I would say that Derek and John have made a phenomenal inspection. Very minimal in terms of detail and repairs, lights, some mirrors, very minor things. So kudos to those guys and our staff for a great inspection over winter break there. The winter one's a little tough just because equipment's it's a little harder on them in the winter. So our inspectors are, I won't say lenient, but they recognize what we deal with in terms of the environment and those kind of things. So Building serve, we are at 9. Maureen mentioned that. I think it's certainly a challenge routing the 2,000 students, or close to 2,000 students each day, getting them routed efficiently and safely transported, making sure our staff is understanding that the first and last face of the day that our students see, making sure that's a safe and enjoyable day is what we strive for. Budget-wise, along with the general fund with our salaries and fuel, some of those things, the PEPL is our primary for our vehicles and fleet. Those are kind of the numbers in the next 5 years of what we're looking at in terms of fleet additions, deletions, trade-ins, those kind of things. Obviously, we just picked up a van. A new van was delivered Monday. Thank you for that. It will be in the works and service immediately for some activities and those things that keep being brought to our attention and needs. But those are kind of the numbers that for the next 5 years we'll be looking at from the PEPL fund in terms of replacing budget or buses, which obviously they're going up in price like everything else. We get kind of creative with our next round with the mini buses. We have 4 currently that they're getting older, and those are hard to find. So stretching those dollars will be a challenge, similar to any other department. Prices of things going up. Fleet, that's kind of a snapshot of what our fleet is. It's pretty close to that, I think, still today. The vans, we added 1 there, obviously. We have, the students keep coming, and that means more needs and requests that come in for things, which is great. Our students are doing wonderful things on many different levels athletically, performing arts, those things, and it's always good service I think we provide for them to be able to do those things safely and efficiently. A couple things in the works and ongoing. The Stop Finder app for our parents, that number probably is closer to 700, I think. There's probably 700 active, which is great. Many still haven't subscribed to the invitation, but it's a great tool that we've added in the last year or two. And along with the fleet upgrades, those are things in the works too. That was kind of the PEPL goals. Some of those at the bottom there, the 28, 29 year with the Tiffin sidewalks. That would certainly help what we do operationally each day with Tiffin and Oak Hill becoming a walk zone possibly, or a big part of it. So there's things are in the works for us. Those are 2 primary tasks. What else? That's just a little bit of pulled from the fall as well for the earlier presentation with 13 schools. We do a lot of staff services I think are above and beyond, and transporting students other locations outside of our district that people don't necessarily think of when they think of a CCA and Tiffin. We're quite larger than just Tiffin. And some challenges for off-site facilities, swimming, tennis, some of those things we still work on each day to make sure we're timely and efficient. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Danny.
I am Catherine Westfall, and I am the Executive Director of Human Resources. So I summarized a lot of my responsibilities, kind of go into managing and assisting with staffing. So we have the recruitment process. I meet with every single new hire for onboarding in person, and so we also do benefits, obviously, FMLA, workers' comp, evaluations, investigations, disciplinary actions, offboarding, and unemployment. So fun little summary of that. Then I get to work with the union on negotiations, and then we will also be working with the union and our classified staff on handbook reviews. We do that every year. I also work on any legal cases that involve staff, as well as I'm the designated employer representative for DOT testing, so I get to work with Denny on that. It's his favorite part of the month. And then we have volunteers that we clear through the district. We have them do a background check and sign off on a confidentiality form. And we require that for any volunteer parents or coaches who want to come into our buildings, just to make sure we're providing a safe environment. I get to oversee Melissa Potter, who's our payroll specialist. She does 2 payrolls a month, which is roughly around 600 employees, so she's a rock star at that. I have a snapshot of what our BEDS report showed for this last October. As a reminder, the BEDS report is a basic educational data survey. And so again, it's just a snapshot in time, but this is what we kind of use for our 25-26 school year of our staff data, of how our departments are all broken down, so you can kind of see where our staffing all lie. So this is regardless of their FTEs, it's just how many people are in each department. We have around 349 1.0 FTEs. And then we use that data to then help us with the school profile. So we have about 70 staff who have 15 plus years of service and 44 teachers. We have 135 staff who have their MA plus. It's just kind of good information to share. And then I did include the board report that I gave in August that has a lot more information, but I didn't want to take up your guys' time with all that. That information is from the 24-25 school year as well, so some of it's kind of outdated at this point. So now I'm going to ask Ms. Ortman, Ms. Brothers, and Ms. Eister to come up and help me with our health and well-being goal. So with this goal, our goal is to support the physical, social, and emotional needs of all. And so we each have different pieces of that, and I'll let them talk more about it.
All right, I'll do Health and Wellness Committee. The wellness policy is a requirement for National School Lunch Program. So I co-chair that with Whitney. Right now we had our initial meeting this fall. We looked at our triennial assessment, which we have to complete every 3 years, to find places in our policy where we're lacking. So we've identified some of that. We'll meet again next week on the 15th. The committee is a group of individuals from all different stakeholders, basically all different stakeholders, sorry. So we're looking for some some members of the public to come visit with us and some students. But otherwise we have about 6 or 7 members right now. So we'll have another meeting next week, and then we'll have another meeting in April.
Maury already kind of talked about the SLFRF grant, but that obviously works into this as well as creating the environment, the physical environment to be able to do what we do.
And then Care Solace, so that's a new pilot that we're offering this year because we have partnered with Grant Wood, so it's free to us to trial. So it's a referral service for therapy. And so kind of numbers-wise, since we just started the training in October and started rolling it out, we have had our community receive communication from Care Solace to be 628 total. So far, we have had 3 staff members be connected, 4 immediate family members of a student be connected, and then 20 students so far. So that is as of January 5th when I pulled those numbers.
All right, that's all we had then. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, all. Let's see. Oh, there it is. My name is Mark Moody. I'm the Director of Schools. I've been with the district for 22 years, and this is my 7th role with the district. And you're looking at one very, very lucky person to be able to do what I do. First of all, we'll go here. Just at a glance, for your information, my position is new for this school year. Contractually, I follow the same contract as a teacher. My contract my direct supervisor is Mr. Davidson, and my major job priority is to support all building principals. To start this year, and you can look at this survey, what I did, so you have an idea, I surveyed the building principals. This was the whole building the plane as we fly type of thing, as this was new, and surveyed them, and you can look at what they needed, what they thought this job should be, what this job shouldn't be, what I listed all the leadership standards for administrators, which ones they felt were their wheelhouse, which ones they felt that they would like to work on. So going into the school year, we had an idea of what those things were, those target areas were for with different administrators, and work with each other. If I was good with standard 7 and you felt that was a weakness, and have those conversations, those type of things, and then just to ask them for some personal and professional goals in that survey as well. So then we could get the year started with an idea of I knew what to expect from them, and they knew what to expect from me. As far as my daily schedule goes, and this is why I say I'm a very, very lucky person here. I get to rotate through 2 buildings every day. I mean, I report to a building in the morning and then one in the afternoon, and that schedule is convoluted. And there is a method to the madness, but I'm in different buildings, different times. But the gist of it is, by the end of each week, I've been in every building for at least 2 hours. And I have to say, there are some incredible building leaders, and we have some amazing teachers in all of our buildings. Just Monday, you would think that may not be a great day educationally, but I went into some elementary classrooms, and those teachers jumped right back in, and they were firing on all cylinders, and the kids were very receptive and engaged to what was going on in the classroom. So, and the fact that I get to be in buildings and see what's going on a daily basis is very, very rewarding to me personally and professionally. There's a link to that classroom walkthrough form. Christine, myself, and the building principals work through a walkthrough form. So when we go into a classroom, we're all looking for the same thing and recording that. So as a group, we can look at themes of what's going well, what are all of our teachers doing that we want them to do? What are some things that maybe aren't happening that we would like to see them happen? But that was a big step this year, to have a consistent walkthrough form that we used, whether we were in a kindergarten classroom or a physics classroom in high school, because good teaching is good teaching. And child engagement, student engagement is student engagement, whether it's a kindergartner or a senior. So that walkthrough form you can take a look at. I revisit the personal and professional goals with the teacher or with the principals. Get those out, kind of talk through how they feel they're doing with their different goals that they shared with me at the beginning of the year. And then a very important part of our conversations is to go through the leadership standards for school administrators. And there's 10 of them, and what they have to do is put in artifacts that show they are doing those meeting those different standards. We talk through those artifacts. Why do they choose them? What are those things all about? What are some things, a lot of our building principals don't think about all the good things they're doing, and they don't include. And I'm like, oh, you should include that. You should include that. You should include that. So ultimately, at the end of the school year, one of my jobs is to submit their job evaluation. And part of that is going through the standards, looking at their artifacts, how that matches up to the different standards in areas that they excel in, or in areas that at the end of the year, areas that we will work on in the coming years. And the other thing is just to be a sounding board. Being a school administrator can be lonely, especially for those elementary principals. They're on an island by themselves, and sometimes they just need to vent, and they need somebody to listen to them. And oftentimes we spend time just having conversations about challenges with staff, with kids, with parents, that sort of thing. And I can offer my perspective and potential solutions, and just be a sounding board for them, as they don't often have a person that they can have, confidential conversations that they can vent to, as we all need to do on occasion. Additional information with my job and things that I do. I facilitate elementary and secondary meetings every third week. That happened actually today. I met with the elementary principals in the morning, and then right after that, I meet with the secondary principals with Brad and Tom in the afternoon, because you need to get those groups together to share information. Oftentimes, different directors will join those meetings to make so people don't have to schedule 5 different meetings, and they'll look at the schedule and they'll join those meetings and share information that they have with the principal audience, so we're not duplicating meetings and we're more efficient with our time. I also attend the district admin team meetings and the district directors meeting as scheduled. I try to schedule all my meetings, other meetings that may come up on Wednesdays. I'm not scheduled to be in class in schools on Wednesdays. It's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Wednesday is I kind of use my meeting day, so it doesn't. So I'm able, I can commit to being into classrooms and seeing the principals and keep that time pretty sacred, so they know that I can be there. One thing that I didn't put on there that I cover for principals, especially at the elementary level. They oftentimes feel guilty about leaving their building unattended without an administrator. So, they go to PD, they have family things come up, whatever the case might be, that I will go and cover their building for them and be an administrative presence for them. And it makes their leave away a little bit easier for them, and they're more comfortable with that, knowing that there's somebody in the building. And as I mentioned, I'm responsible to complete and submit the year-end principal evaluations. Okay, way. I'm pushing it there. And then, these are a couple quotes that I think speak to what I do as far as working with our building leadership on a regular basis, is that, I think that one thing that gets overlooked is student achievement is a direct reflection of building leaders. I mean, that's proven time and time again in many, many studies, and we need to be able to support those people on a regular basis and know that they're supported and have someone that they can lean on, and I'm trying my best to do that. And then I really am just going to say thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your time. My name is Mike Parker, and I am the director of the Clear Creek Amana Schools Foundation. I've been in this role for about a year and a half. I work a lot with the superintendent and with our board of directors. Our board of directors consists of...
Is it dying?
Oh, now I went too far.
There you go.
Well, there we go. Oh, I'm sorry. So you can see there we have 12 board of directors. Our president is Jack O'Rourke. Our foundation was founded in 1986, and its major focus at the time was to create funds that would provide high school seniors with graduating academic scholarships as they move forward. That is still 40 years later our major focus, but we were able to do a lot of other things as well. So this year we were able to offer 11 endowment scholarships. So our endowment scholarships, what those are, they are scholarships that are funded by someone else. So a group, an individual will offer that money. We will then manage that money long-term and offer those scholarships each year. So we have 11 of those. This year, we were also able to offer a record-setting number of $21,000 scholarships, and those are CCA Foundation-funded scholarships. So those are scholarships that are funded by our efforts in stuff like Dine Out, stuff like our golf outing, where we go and raise the money for these. The biggest that we had ever done before was the year before in 2024, where we offered 8, and this year we were able to offer 20. So just last year alone, we offered over $28,000 in graduating senior scholarships. So the most that we have ever been able to offer, something we're very proud of doing. So just in the last 12 months, we have created 3 new naming scholarships, as you can see there, and we're constantly working on adding those as well. But those are 3 that we are very excited about. And the bottom part that I knew would probably get cut off, we are working on a 4th one right now that arguably could be the biggest scholarship we have ever offered, but I'm not going to say that yet until we've completely crossed all those T's and dotted those I's. But also, we are always trying to raise funds for the foundation. So one of my major responsibilities. Obviously, it's pretty simple, and that is to raise money. That is the essence of our foundation. Our success really depends upon if we are able to make connections that raise money so that we're able to use that money, turn it right back into the district. But over the years, we have really had two sources to do that, and that is our Dine Out for Education and our golf outing. Every once in a while, there would be something else, but our only annual fundraisers are those two things. But over the last 12 months, we've been able to more than double that number to 5. So last year, we were able to add the Night of the Stars, which was very financially profitable for us. We just finished our staff charitable giving campaign. Also, last year, we added the foundation staff grants, which this year, those are funded beyond what we will be offering. So another great revenue stream for us. In 2024, we brought in $25,162 to the foundation, and in 2025, we brought in $52,922, more than doubling in 1 year what we brought into the foundation. Something all of the board of directors, we are very, very proud of the work that we did, but we were able to do that by one big thing, and that is growing our community support. So going out to businesses and encouraging them to be involved in the Clear Creek Amana School District. And as you can see here, over 50 local businesses in the last 12 months, in one way or another, have provided funds to the CCA Foundation. In 2024, we had less than 5 staff members go to our website and donate to the CCA Foundation. In 2025, we had 98 staff members do that. They donated over $2,000 to the foundation. Most of that came out of what we just finished in December, which was our very first staff charitable giving campaign. So we went out to local businesses and we got over $3,000 in prizes given to us so that we could turn around and then provide those to our CCA staff members. So in this kind of a fundraiser, usually they say right around 7 or 8% of an involvement would kind of be really, really good. For an example, our friends right down the street in Iowa City, they have done this form of a fundraiser for decades, and they just finished up right around the 9 or 10% of their staff members participated in the fundraiser, and we got to 16% of our staff members. In every category, from the number of people involved, the amount of money that we raised, the amount of money that businesses gave to us, all of those, we far exceeded what we had hoped to be able to do. So our foundation is working year-round to do 3 really, really important things. Add new scholarships so that our CCA graduating seniors have more opportunities in that area, to expand the number of businesses that are sponsoring and involved in the CCA Foundation, and also to provide great incentives for our staff members to donate to the foundation so that we can do what we think is really, really important, and that is to continue to support initial programs that are, I know, vital to our district so that we can help beyond the district's standard budget. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Kel, do you need me to push buttons over there?
Yeah.
Can you open the PDF? All right. There we go.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cale Hankins, your District Technology Director. I was a CCA student way back in the day, and I've been here since about 4 months after I stopped doing that. So I didn't get very far, since that'd be the fall of 2006. So coming up on 20 years here. Alrighty, my department is 7 people underneath me. We have a technology department staff member. We're kind of lucky to have 1 full-time in the high school, full-time in the middle school, and then we have 3 members that split up our elementary schools, kind of basing their time on the number of students we have in our grade allocations at those buildings. I also have an administrative assistant, Leanne, who answers our hotline. We do have a hotline. Deals with some of our community support side of things for when we have parents with outside access issues, Power School, Schoology, Seesaw, Chromebook problems at home, that kind of jazz. Hotspots occasionally. And my right-hand guy is Robbie Davis, who's our network and systems administrator and deals with most of our back-end systems and will be no doubt running updates from home right now. Some of our key areas break down into our operational support, what I'm calling our digital ecosystem and our security needs. Operations pretty much encompasses the day-to-day needs, making sure that the lights stay on, so to speak. Sorry, Maury. But your lights are on my network now. More or less, if it plugs into a wall, and a lot of times even if it doesn't, we'll end up supporting that. Managing the life cycle of our devices, what happens when we purchase new devices, how do we manage them, where do they go when they're gone, tracking all that stuff, budgeting and planning. Our one-to-one programs are a huge part of this component. And then just our general classroom technology. You guys might remember back in November, you authorized the purchase of the Vivi system. I'm happy to report that that is about halfway deployed. We have training pretty much every Wednesday with a different building. So that should be completed by the end of January. Oxford, Amana, and North Bend are now fully up on that system. Our digital ecosystem kind of encompasses all the data movements that have to happen to make sure that kids can get where they need to go and teachers have their rosters so they can support those kids. Identity management, account information, and all that jazz. And what I'm trying to get more time to work on are security and compliance pieces, making sure we stay compliant with the appropriate laws, that we're secure for our students and our staff members, and that we provide them with the tools they need to be their own support for their sort of human firewall component. So that's the training and stuff that you guys have all done as well. Thank you for doing that as well. It's always helpful for me to be able to see this, to tell people the board has to do it, you got to do it. Moving along, our budget is composed of two components, the general fund and save. Save is that penny tax that you've heard of from Maury. If you went back to your fund summary sheet that Lori provided, it would be that big orange bubble on the right-hand side there. Okay. Rough breakdown of how that works for us is provided there. I won't go into super details here. Just know that these are kind of annualized, amortized costs. So if I go look at our save fund information here and the sort of flows, we don't actually spend $100,000 on our one-to-one programs each year because we don't buy a one-to-one program each year. But if you amortize that out over the lifetime of those programs, that's about the percentage of the budget that it would make up. So that's about where our technology funds are going currently. Yeah.
It's pretty.
I love a Sankey diagram. Some of our numbers here are representative of the kind of work that we put in. Our Chromebooks and iPads are our number one devices that we have in student hands. We have about 580 computers aside from that are mostly in our staff hands. Those will be about half our teacher laptops and about half a huge variety of other support and administrative staff, up to and including your own devices here. We're up to around 440 security cameras and doors that we now support district-wide. We have those 300 classroom Vivi devices recently added that I wanted to mention here. About 60 more of those are signage now, including the display we're using right now. And then on the right-hand side there, I included some of the numbers for the kind of data that we deal with, including our sessions and the number of new files we see created in our drive systems each year. Okay? So we're closing in on 1 million new files here every year. I wanted to wrap up with just a quick overview of our one-to-one program because it's such a huge component of what me and my team deal with every day. And for those of you who are new board members, this might help you out a little bit. So we've been doing this for 12 years now. That's kind of a timeline of each of our one-to-one programs. You'll see that middle school and high school programs are more or less offset by 2 years. That helps us keep our budget a little bit more under control. It's really bad to ask Lori for $500,000 every other year. Otherwise, we run into problems like that. We've just entered our 4th generation of middle school one-to-one pilot program, so that'll be the 4th different device we've had in middle school student hands. And we're currently in our 3rd, getting towards the end of our 3rd generation at the high school. Our structure of the program looks a little like this. Every 4 years, we're replacing either our middle school or our high school program. But you'll notice that the numbers that I ask you guys to purchase don't really add up exactly with the student counts that we have in those grades. And that's because what we're ultimately purchasing in those programs is for the numbers we're going to have those devices serving in 4 years when they drop down to serve in our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade levels. Those arrows on the right-hand side. So those 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade Chromebooks are older devices, but they get refreshed every 2 years. So each device serves 4 years up at the middle school or the high school, then comes down and serves 2 more years down in the 3rd through 5th grade before it's retired. That just makes sure that The students that are harder on the devices beat them up first before they go on, and we don't have as many failures down in the lower grades, and we make sure that the kids that need them to be more top of the line for things like the Project Lead the Way engineering program up at the high school, then are passing them down to the elementaries where they don't need such a high profile device. Our iPads work similarly. We do have one-to-one iPads, but they do stay in carts in each of the elementary classrooms in K1, 2. And we do a new device for those every 4 years. And the way that works is we replace 50% of those every 4 years, alternating between our one-to-one programs. So this coming summer, we will be replacing 50% of our lower grade iPads. And next year we will be replacing those high school Chromebooks. The year after that, it will be the other half of those iPads. The year after that, it will finally be our new middle school Chromebooks. So that'll be 3 years down the road. Okay? Just keeps that budget evened out a little bit more. All righty. Just one quick follow-up slide to remember on our one-to-one program. Those devices are a bit more than just the Chromebook device itself. We also have cases, bags, management licenses, Google stuff to worry about, and then some support software that helps our teachers make better use of those Chromebooks. And that's all I've got.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Break my own rule.
That's a tough slideshow to follow. It does tech stuff. It's all fancy.
I'm hunting 2 slideshows.
Oh, you're fine.
There we go.
Right. I'm Whitney Eister. I'm the Director of Health Services. I've been with the district 7 years, so 5 years at the middle school, and then this is my 2nd year in this role. Kathy retired only a few years after COVID, so my team, or our team, consists of, I have an LPN and Amana, a health aide at the high school, a RN at Tiffin Elementary, an RN at Oak Hill Elementary, a health aide at CCE, and a RN at the middle school, a health aide, and I think Val is also a certified med aide as well. And then an RN at North Bend and an RN at East Ridge. And I just put about how many students, because we're getting new ones all the time, so. Students' health needs we support. We have anything from just giving daily meds. We have the younger kiddos, toileting concerns, helping with those. Giving any over-the-counter meds to students like Tylenol, ibuprofen, Tums. We have students with seizures, so we have rescue meds. Students with severe allergies, so we have quite a few EpiPens. Some G-tube feeding, some students that need some oral suctioning, diabetic students, and then medication management with the diabetic students, working with the doctor and the parent on getting them the correct insulin. We have students that need to be catheterized every day, working with physical PE waivers, anyone that's injured, that kind of thing. Concussions, a lot in the middle school and high school. The nurses are doing the post-concussion scales with them, and working with the trainers. Mental health needs, and then students that are actively getting treatment for chemotherapy. I always put this up here because it's kind of funny. School nurses saving the world one ice pack at a time. It's kind of a stereotypical, we just do Band-Aids and ice packs, but it's a whole lot more than that. Other responsibilities, we check the AEDs monthly, monthly EpiPen and Narcan checks. We attend IEP meetings and write health plans. We have our immunization audits. And we're in 2 counties, so it's kind of Johnson County, and then we have Iowa County. And then I also help Catherine and Denny. I do the transportation, drug, and alcohol DOT testing for new hires, quarterly random screenings, and then post-accident screenings. Resources we provide. Grant Wood comes in and does the hearing screens. Access Vision does vision screenings. They come in and they do all pre-K through 4th grade for free. They come, they get it done. They're really quick and fast. And then they also work with the Lions Club, and they give us free exams and a pair of glasses for students that are in need. And I think I've taken 3 students there this year, ranging from elementary to high school, and they've been phenomenal on that. So, and then we transport with parent permission and if parents aren't able to take them. Assistance with physicals. I've helped try to get them scheduled and assist with transportation. Dr. Momney's office has been wonderful and they would not charge me if needed for a physical. And then we're kind of working, Kurt and I, on getting something set up like and Tom has said too, with having someone come in before the school year and doing it at the high school for like a flat fee so everyone can get it. I know it's hard to get into doctor's offices as well, so. Trainings, we do medication administration training, so all the health aides go through that. CPR and AED training. I last month did training with 66 of Miss Overholser's, I think it was child development. So they all got certified in first aid and CPR and AED training so that they can work in daycares if they want. We do seizure training and seizure med training with staff, EpiPen training, Narcan training, diabetic student training. And then I've also in the past worked with Missy's staff regarding allergies and diet modifications. And then also we're working on getting the Stop the Bleed training and with our Alice training. So budget, about $25,000 annually for nursing supplies, office Band-Aids, gauze, injury supplies, splints, ice packs, ACE wrap, thermometers, and then we do provide over-the-counter meds, Tylenol, ibuprofen, Tums, Benadryl, and then any personal protective equipment, mostly gloves. We don't really go through a lot of safety goggles and gowns. Any questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome new board members. I'm Angelica Brothers. I'm the Director of School Support, and I have been in the district for 5 years now. No, I went a little too fast. So kind of just going an overview, kind of school support is kind of a hodgepodge of various programs, which I enjoy because I get to really work with the teachers and students in our district that are, I feel, vulnerable at times, but then I also have some like policy, more that's driven type investigation stuff. So I get the best of both worlds. So. And I include the pictures because aren't they just lovely to look at? So the first one I'm going to talk about is our ELL program. So I oversee that program that has, I don't think that we have 7.5 teachers, like we have only half of a teacher, but the 0.5 is a teacher who also serves in another department, so we get her every other day. Approximately right now, we have 210 kids when I pulled numbers, but that fluctuates. We recently had 3 new families, I believe, register, so we're just working on getting the screening and seeing if kids qualify for EL services. Part of this program and how they get identified is based off of the home language survey when they register. And so if a language other than English is marked, then that triggers a notification from Kelly's program to me to say, hey, these students need to be screened. And Iowa follows the ELPA 21, which stands for the English Language Proficiency Assessment screener. And then that kind of triggers whether or not they qualify or not. And there's just kind of a brief overview there. Currently, we have about 27 languages represented in our district. And I just always like to say a caveat, not all languages are acknowledged because some of them are more of a local dialect if they are coming from another country that the state of Iowa doesn't recognize. So that could potentially be more, just so you know. Because I've had to look up like what is a sister language to this language when we register. So the budget that I oversee for this one is flow through dollars from Grantwood. So we get that. We have to submit an action plan by September 15th to them. And that is the budget we got allocated by the state. So this year, based off of our beds certified enrollment from last year, we qualified for $24,297. And so a lot of that, I requested the whole amount. So then as a team, when we meet at the end of, the teacher's last contract day, we go through our data, we kind of see what are areas that this budget can supplement. So that this one is categorical, there's certain allowables that we can spend it on. The big ones we use it for is summer school and our ELL family nights. So it also can cover sub costs if we have trainings or attend conferences, and then subscriptions. So that's kind of the big things for ELL. Our title program. So Title I may not be what you were familiar with back in the day, where it was only for kids who were identified as free and reduced. So the way we identify schools is based off of the month percentage of the district. And if their percentage is higher than the district average, then they are identified as a Title I school. So we use last year's data for this year's school year. And so this year we have 5 schools that have been identified as Title at the elementary level, because as a district, we don't have enough free and reduced applications percentage that qualify to be a district-wide Title I. And so that budget mainly goes to all salaries for our Title teachers. Kind of think. It's kind of the big overview on Title. Another area that kind of goes in with Title for the interventionist would be the at-risk program. So we have 27 total staff members that are paid out of the at-risk budget. We also have 1 school counselor that's district-wide to cover all 9 buildings, as well as our school counselors. Part of their salary gets paid out of at-risk. And so in order for a student to be identified as at-risk, they must meet 2 of the qualifications. I'm really sorry that's small, but I can share the presentation so that you can kind of see the identification. Another area then that also is tied to at-risk is our homeless liaison. She is also part school counselor, and then she's also 0.5 of our homeless liaison. Out of her budget and how we get that, it comes out of our Title I application. So every year we are required to set aside some money for our students that are deemed homeless. And so $5,000 covers their expenses that could go to clothing, school supplies, transportation costs, anything that they might need in order to still attend school, because we don't want to disrupt their schooling. And then another area that I work closely with is homeschool with Kelly and Deanna, and making sure that buildings that have like a dual enrolled kid are notified, or that they are getting notified of assessments and other things like that. So that would be for homeschool. And then lastly is I serve as the Title IX coordinator as well as our Level 1 investigator. Those are very policy driven as to investigations, the procedures that I follow, kind of what next steps that would happen if there is an investigation, and then I work closely with Aaron and then Catherine if it personnel matter type of stuff. So that is all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine, I think it's you.
Hello. All right. Well, this is my second year here at CCA, so really excited to be here. My husband Troy and I live in Tiffin. My hometown is the LaPorte City, Dysart, Iowa area. So I'm an Iowa native. I've been here my whole life with the exception of about 3 years when I lived in Colorado, but really happy to be back here. This just feels like home. I kind of wrapped up my summary of what I do into the CIA. Okay, it's not really mysterious, but really my big rocks are curriculum, instruction, and assessment. So that's kind of how I'll talk through what I do. Whoops. Now this is a little jaunty tonight. Ooh, now I'm going the wrong way. Just a second here, guys. Sorry about that. All right, one more. Nope, too far. Now I've got it. Here we go. Okay. Our educational roadmap is really all of those three things kind of tied into one. So the curriculum really sets the destination. It's what our kids need to know and be able to do. And our instruction provides that vehicle of how we're going to get there. And then an assessment really marks those milestones and how we know if we're on track and how our students are doing. So it all really ties together. And so I'm going to start with curriculum. It's more than the textbooks. You know, back before I ever got into education, I thought curriculum was just the textbooks, and it's so much more than that. It's really thinking about what we want our kids to know and why, and that has to align with our standards that the state requires. And we have to ensure that everybody has access to what we have. So there's a lot of that kind of work that I do with teachers directly, but also really with our fantastic instructional coaches that I get to work with. I have 8 instructional coaches and 1 induction coach. She works primarily with our new teachers, and they do a fantastic job. They're kind of an extension of me. Thinking about the instruction, bringing curriculum to life. I had to steal a picture. I think Lori might have posted this one on Facebook. This is Mr. Clark's fantastic. This is really bringing curriculum to life here. But instruction is all about, that research-based strategies, differentiated, engaging, and scaffolding to make sure everybody has access again, but also making it meaningful. And this is really one of those real world connections that he is able to make that's fantastic. The cool thing is, this is obviously a really neat hands-on experience, but we have so many engaging, fantastic teachers and building leaders that support this. So again, they're just such an extension of this work too, and are just doing a fantastic job. Thinking about the A, that assessment, and nope, didn't work for me. Thought I switched something up here a little bit, but it didn't save. So really assessment, I kind of think about this as what I wanted to talk through is we hear so much more about like ISASP and the great big state tests and all of that. But really the foundation of what we do is more of our formative assessments in the classroom. It's the work that our teachers do to know if we're on track. That's so important. And then you also hear a lot about things like our MAP testing and our fast bridge. That's really important to kind of assess the health of a system. And that's how we use that. And then, of course, we're always trying to make sure that we get at those goals that we've got, that state test that we're going to achieve the way we want to. And I've got some data to share on that as well, too. Here in just a second. Let's skip that one. Along with all of that, my CCA work, I get to collaborate and work with professional learning. And that's just one of my most favorite things, too. I get to work with all of our district administrators and directors. The middle picture is just a snapshot of our K-2 folks that are working on our literacy pilot right now and working on a curriculum adoption. It's really great to be able to collaborate with them. And then on a regular basis, at least every 2 weeks, I meet with my entire instructional coaching team, and Tracy, our induction coach, also joins in with that. And we collaborate, and it's a really great way for me to just kind of keep a pulse on what's happening. And I also meet with them individually. And then I'm going to skip that. I skipped that. Sorry. Here's some academic goals. We have 3 academic goals. Literacy is the first one. And I have it kind of broken down based on what assessments our students take. Because again, it's not just about ISASP. We really want to make sure we have a bead of what's happening with our younger kids too. So they take a little different assessments in FastBridge. So we kind of monitor that. We're in the just beginning week of our winter testing window. So we'll have some fresh new data here pretty soon. I'm really excited because we've had some really good things happening, especially at our K1 level. They're really working hard with some phonics, and I expect to see some incredible growth. We have a state dashboard called Panorama, and it gives us some insight into how our kids are doing who are on intervention plans if they aren't quite cutting it. We're required to actually create intervention plans. We were doing that already, but you know what? Now we're documenting some things, and I see right now that 85% of our students below benchmark in the fall are improving with that intervention. So that lets us know we're on the right track. And then with math, it's kind of the same story too. The state dashboard, it's going to be updating a little bit more here soon. So I don't know that 60% is 100% accurate. they just over the summer added that we need to monitor math and do progress monitoring. And so really, we're not required to do any interventions until now, like this testing window, but we actually did start some. So that's why I'm kind of wondering about that 60% a little bit, but growth is growth. So that's a really good thing. And then science, we also test in 5, 8, and 10 on ISAS. And I don't really have like an interim assessment or a benchmark assessment for that one, but we are currently working on our standards alignment, which is part of the work that I do quite a bit. Right now, we're going to be working with our elementary. Our secondary buildings have already done a lot of work. We just had the state adopt new standards last spring. And so, yeah, we're getting aligned with that. And budgets that I work with, teacher, leader, and compensation, that's primarily for salaries and for stipends. And that would be my instructional coaches. And then we have PLC leaders. And they receive a stipend for working above and beyond a little bit. And that's about 1.2 million this year. It's kind of a complex one too. And then curriculum. I didn't really put a number there because Lori and I work on that. We try to think about $150,000 a year, right? And then times 2, because I also have licenses for things. There's a lot of online things. There's some physical things and then the online things. And then teacher quality, I think that was around 200, 225 this year. And that's for the opportunity for teachers to have professional development. So, and it might include collaboration. They might have new curriculum they need time to work on, but professional learning, basically. I work with our talented and gifted teachers, and then, of course, professional development. So kind of a vast variety of things there. All right. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Megan to round us out. Yeah.
Hey, 1 second. This is embedded Canva. It's going to be a little complicated.
Didn't mean to go complex for you. Okay, now I have to figure out the clicker. Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Clark. I'm the Executive Director of Special Services. Okay. I have to start with my why. So this is the same as what I presented earlier this fall, but it's important to you that you all know why I do what I do. So I believe that all students can learn at high levels. We just have to figure out the right supports for them. I believe that we should serve all students based on their unique needs, and that's something that I've really been working with our principals and teachers on this year. And I also believe that students are gen ed students first. Okay, so our district at a glance. These numbers are slightly different than the fall because we are constantly growing. So we have 465 total IEPs right now. 395 of those are served by our teachers. 70 of them are served only by our AEA staff. We have 34 special education teachers, and our 504 numbers are not totally up to date. So last spring for grades 3 through 11, we had 139 504 plans. Thinking about my day-to-day responsibilities was an interesting task, so thank you. So a huge part of what I do is individual student problem solving. It's why I love special education. I love figuring out what works for kids. So I work with our principals a lot. They are great about calling me when something comes up or we need to figure out how to do something differently. We plan for quality service delivery across all of our buildings. I support IEP teams, whether that's on the planning side of things or helping facilitate meetings, whatever they need. I support our special education teachers. One thing that I've really loved coming back from AEA in the past is being able to be in our classrooms with our kids and helping teachers figure out how do we best deliver services to our students with disabilities. And then resources. So we are always purchasing for special education and we need to make sure that they're allowable purchases. So I take that on. We have a corrective action plan that we're working through, which really just goes in alignment with our continuous improvement plans that we also are working through. The main focus is on secondary transition, so that's students ages 14 and over. And my heavy focus has been just individualizing services for students with IEPs. We're working hard to improve the graduation rate for students with IEPs, improve the academic achievement for our students, and career-connected learning, work-based learning, thinking about how we best prepare students for life after graduation. Our corrective action plan is pretty complex and has lots of different, tasks and timelines. We've already achieved 2 of the large ones. So we've held IEP meetings for all of our middle school, high school students to individualize services. We've gone through a ton of professional learning and coaching for our middle school and high school teachers, CTE teachers, and counselors at the middle school and high school. And then our next big to-do is by April to have IEP teams incorporate transition assessments into IEPs. That was fancy. So my big goals are many things that I've already named, focusing on individualization, working on person-first language, so students with disabilities versus program-based language, talking about students according to their funding level. I am working to further develop staff skills for effective inclusive practices. I hope to increase our co-teaching and collaborative teaching opportunities in the future. Working on individualizing those IEP goals. Also need to start to tackle the 504 process around identification and review. Comprehensive behavior supports for students with IEPs is something that I've already dug into and feel like maybe one step into a 12-step kind of process. A large part of my focus and goals, though, are focused on that secondary transition because of our corrective action plans and our comprehensive improvement plans from the state. Okay, as far as financials for special education goes, I am pretty passionate about making sure that what we are buying out of the special ed funding realm is actually allowable. And so right away, I put a new purchasing process in place. Teachers fill out a form, have to answer some pretty specific questions, and it comes to me and I either approve or go back to the teacher and talk about what they were looking for and ultimately decide if it can be purchased. Because we need to balance fiscal responsibility with making sure students' needs are met. I can't say we don't have that in the budget for our students with IEPs. I have to say, what about, have we thought of this? How do we make sure students receive free and appropriate public education? All students with IEPs receive categorical funding based on their weighted funding level. And so keeping it super high level for you guys, last year's revenue was approximately 8 million, and it's increased by about 500,000 each year. That's the end. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great, a lot of information. Thank you again, everyone. I learned new things, so this is part of the reason we do it. Yeah, if you guys have questions right now, or I saw you can't ask your questions. There's a whole list. It will be here all night. I mean, you can if you have like one your favorite.
Yeah, pick your favorite.
I saw you scribbling, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be follow-ups. Do you have one you'd like to ask?
Yeah, my favorite one is Missy's program with bringing the community into the buildings for lunch and kind of increasing, our community approach and openness of our building. Last year, my favorite thing was serving lunch, and looking forward to it next year again. But that kind of caught my attention. And
Yeah, so I can't take credit for that. Brad Fox came to me and said, hey, I have this great idea. So him and I are working on that to try to make sure, to see if it's something we can do. And it's fiscally responsible for us to do so. but getting community members from the home next door and some other community members to come in once a week, have lunch after our students, and just get them in our buildings and supplying them with a meal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That's what I have for now. We haven't really worked on all the details. It sounds like it's something we've done in the past. So it's not anything new, but we just haven't done it in a long time.
Excuse me. What, do you have a second one you really need to ask?
Yeah, second one with transportation, Mr. Denny. So the Tiffin sidewalk that you had highlighted kind of caught my attention. So were you talking about the Oak Hill Tiffin Elementary side or the highway?
North of 6, west of Park.
Okay.
That whole area would become a walk zone.
Okay.
I think it's less than 2 miles to the CCE enrollment line. So most of anything under 2 miles would become a walk zone.
Okay. Do you have an idea of the impact it would do to your department as far as freeing up resources for the challenges?
I kind of looked at the other day in terms of, we have 3 buses that serve Tiffin and Oak Hill, primarily 3 large buses. At least one of those for sure would be freed up, if not 2.
Okay.
Getting creative with the route, the enrollment area south of the river, south of 6.
Okay.
We transport them still. Numbers, it's 27 to maybe 35 riders. So if that stays the same, you're adding that group to maybe some of the Coral Court area. So there's a bus and a half kind of right now is what I'm seeing, but it would free up certainly one piece of equipment and staff to go serve our East Ridge enrollment or different areas. So.
And the Roberts Ferry going west, that would also free up.
They would be in the walk zone. Yeah, it's kind of behind Doe Run, or Redbird, and Doe, or whatever that first street is. The neighborhood lot line goes behind there, so the walk zone would be all the way to there. I think that's under 2 miles by about 0.3. So it significantly help free up a piece of equipment and some staff.
That people have. Or do you have more?
Nope. Share the floor.
Other people have questions? Yes, sir.
Mike Parker.
Oh, it's like you're calling a witness.
Mike
Parker
to the front. Sorry. So I'm Rick Hergert. Several years ago, some of the community members did a fundraiser, and we got a scholarship for Robert Van Cleve, a teacher from Clear Creek, from Amana years ago. It's so disappointing. So our money is, we've raised $25,000 in 6 months, and now we've raised another 15. So our money is at Greater Cedar Rapids Community Foundation, comes from there to you, and then you hand it out. So this year's $1,200 scholarship. It's endowed. It's so disappointing that in the 6 years we've done it, I think there's 1 year we had 2 applicants. Other years we have 1. And I've talked with the counselors. They says, well, Rick, 2 things is, at least you had 1. We've had scholarships with no applicants that goes not used. The second thing that made me feel better is the person that applied probably would have won anyway. But the counselors are at a loss. They send all these emails to teacher or parents, kiddos. Our scholarship is based on a teacher, maybe going into teaching. And I'm standing there giving away the award, and these other kiddos are coming up. They're going to elementary education. Why didn't they apply? So I'm sure you see that. And I don't know if the directors know it. There's scholarships that go unapplied for.
Yeah, that's something that last year we talked a little bit about after we saw who had all applied. And one thing we're trying to do is our website, we're going to try and get everything on there, because right now a lot of those are just handwritten applications.
Right.
So we get the application. There's a lot of people that don't want to write out an application. So we're trying to get everything on our website, which has never been done before. So students can go right there, click on it, and hopefully fill it out right there, which I think that would open it up to some people, because some of our students are applying for 5, 6, 7 scholarships, and if they got to write it out, that would kind of limit what ones they were going to apply for. But I do totally agree, getting it out. I mean, just like we just had the Nan Seelman scholarship, the John Seelman scholarship. So we posted that today. We're trying to get those out to people. Same with, we added the Kevin Walter Scholarship last year. And as I said, there's another one that we're going to add here in the next days that I think it is something that we're going to do all that we can this year. Again, last year was my kind of first year going through that process, but we took a lot of notes and tried to figure out how we can do that. But our board of directors talked a lot about one thing we have to do, especially because we're raising so much more money and that we have an option to give it. But that's kind of defeats the purpose to do that if no one's applying for them. So that will definitely be one of our top things this year.
So our group, our goal was $1,000 minimum scholarship. And it's amazing what you've done with your $1,000 scholarships. And I bet, well, I don't bet, I wonder if the kiddos think some of them are $100 scholarships. I'm not going to mess with it. So if that's the case, I mean, my gosh, there's so many scholarships given away. And personally, I wish we could eliminate a $100 scholarship if there is such a thing and combine it with something else.
Yeah, ours are all, we
Because
cover
we advertise it,
$500.
we advertise it's $1,000, apply for it. So go ahead, I'm
Yeah, so
interrupting your
all of
500.
ours that we give out are $500 or more. Like all the ones that we funded within the foundation were $1,000. The ones that are endowments, so those are, we only have so much control over those. But again, those, we're trying to make those all at $500 or more. Most of those are $1,000, but we do have some smaller. Sometimes we get scholarships that we have no control over. So like our volleyball team got a scholarship from the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union. They set that amount. We award that to someone that is a senior that was on the volleyball team. So we don't have control over all of those. But definitely, I agree totally with you that especially when you're figuring I'm going to try and fill out, handwrite 5 scholarships, they're not going to apply for the $100 scholarships. So making those a bigger number, I think, would drive up more applicants as well.
All right, thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mike, I got a follow up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, boy.
No, I was going to say that's something, when I started and getting involved with the foundation, the first year we only had a couple applicants or a small handful. And that's just been a struggle, but last year was awesome.
Yeah, last year we went from 8 the year before to 20. So, and that was because of having more people apply.
Yeah, to attest to that, we came to the award ceremony last year for the senior, and it was amazing seeing how much community support and resources were available to some of the students that were awarded those scholarships. But my question, I guess, would somewhat be you and Lori Heyman. In your presentation, I didn't hear anything about alumni connection. What are we doing to try to connect with our alumni and try to get them involved back in our district and kind of hopefully, get some good things out of it?
Yeah, I think that's one thing we talked about again at the beginning of last year was that there really was no outreach to alumni within the foundation. So we tried to look for if there was an email list that we could get on that we would then start to seek out in that way, which we kind of chased that down for a while and there really was none. So right now we really have looked, but we just don't have this avenue to reach out. If we could get those emails, then we would produce a foundation email that we would send out and ask those people to get involved. Because one thing that I found in being in this just for 1 year is that there are very, very few people that don't want to be involved with the Clear Creek Amana Schools Foundation. When we ask, as I list those 50 businesses, they're like, yes, no one's ever asked before. We would be happy to do that. And I think with alumni, it would be that same way, that if people were willing to get involved, all we have to do is contact them. But right now, we're still looking for an avenue to do that, Lori.
So I've started the process of creating an online form on our website that will be for something that we can capture. Where are you now? And tell us a little bit about what you're doing. Because we could use it for a variety of things, not just giving money, but their expertise and their skill set of where they're working right now. They might be able to come into our buildings and work with students. I was a school student here and this is what I'm doing now. So there's different things that I'm looking at. The perspective for capturing those folks. So that's something that I would like to get rolling on soon.
Yeah, we would do all we can to reach out to those people as soon as we have an avenue to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Anyone else have some pressing questions? No. Okay.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a date for Night of the Stars?
Oh.
Yes, there is. Off the top of my head, no, it's not there.
Okay.
It is April.
I'll give them a minute to look and say that I know we didn't upload these presentations ahead of time. Part of the reason was, like, as I said, I just wanted us to be able to come and absorb it and not feel like we had to look at things ahead of time. But now, Kale, can you do like magic or somebody and put them all into one PDF for us that we could have? No? Okay. No, we can send separate. We can
We
make
can
them,
try
or a
some
Gmail,
of them
or like a
some of them
folder,
aren't gonna move as nicely in the.
or a folder where we can access them or
Yeah, we
something.
can get those to Lori if they haven't been already. Most of them probably.
It is April 18th.
April 18th. Excellent. Thank you. Oh, Lori Hammond, I did have one question. Are you on TikTok yet for social media?
So
Oh, you actually have an answer for that.
I've been thinking about it more. Reason being because somebody else is going to start it for us, right? But the reason we did not, and we have hesitated, is because the governor told public entities to not be on TikTok.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So she had a, what do you call it? Written up document.
Executive order type
There you
thing?
go. Yes. So I'm gonna look into it more because I know other schools are starting to do it too. So if we don't create it, somebody else will for us. So
I know you're on every other
created
one.
my own account, so there you go.
You're ahead of me. Good job. Okay. Well, I think that's it for the presentations. We do have the conversation that we can have. That's our discussion. But I thought, did you want to take a brief break to use the restroom?
We can let.
Yeah, directors, please.
Thank you.
Go eat dinner. Thank you again.
not present. Okay, so we just wanted to have some time we are still live streaming and everything, so it's still open work session. We just sent directors home so they don't have to sit through this, but sometime before our meeting in a couple weeks to discuss the SRO position, specifically what percentage we're comfortable with moving forward. There's a lot that goes into this decision. There's a nice summary included. Thank you, KL, for putting it up on the screen. And then we had the conversation at our last meeting where Sheriff Kunkel presented to us about what this role would look like. So looks like currently there's a proposal for 85%. We would cover 85% is what's typed in there, but we're open to any number, is my understanding.
I wouldn't say any number.
Not like
but
1%.
Yeah, I have it like broke down, and I'm following up. I have our monthly meeting, my monthly meeting with Doug tomorrow, so it's perfect timing following this meeting. Sorry, Allison.
No, I was gonna hand it off to you. I was like, and please take over.
This is just some notes I thought it would be important for the board to be aware of. Just I think in conversations, well, I don't think, I know in conversations with Doug, he feels, and again, he's speaking for the city council, that they would be open to some flexibility on that percentage possibly. So when you look at, I think if I'm you, I would want to know how much money we have to invest. So when I say, like I've told you before, I wouldn't be going down this road if we didn't have the monies to be able to pay for a potential SRO, and that's short-term and long-term. When Laura and I crunch numbers, our revenues for our at-risk budget, you look at the $1,725,500. We would also receive, if we move forward with this, operational sharing dollars, which would be 4 FTEs, which would roughly be about $32,000. So the total we would have in our at-risk budget would be, a little over 175. And then when you look at our expenditures, that's at $1,500,000. So we have a couple $100,000 in at-risk to be able to utilize.
Can you explain the operational sharing? Where does that come from?
Yeah, so the 4 FTEs, I don't know how to explain it specifically, but when you enter into sharing agreements, whether it's like a superintendent sharing, or it's a curriculum director sharing, or HR, or special ed, Laura, you may be able to talk through specifically how they determine the number of FTEs. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, and that's just additional money from the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So it's basically being able to, it's money coming in. It's an incentive to share positions.
Sorry, I'm just curious if is that because then you have one person's benefits as well? Like it reduces their overall money going to benefits and salaries?
To encourage districts to share resources. So like a superintendent, if you have 2 small districts that are close, it's advantageous for both of them to share that position. And then there's a list of positions that you get sharing dollars for, and then the FTEs are just assigned. It's just a straight, it doesn't matter the cost or anything. It's just a straight number of FTEs for each position. So it's like our mid-prairie.
Yeah,
mid-prairie
I just
positions
thought
that
we have 4 for mid-prairie.
I always assumed it was like school district to school district, so it is kind of. I didn't realize you could do county to.
Yeah. You can do county and city. Any other type of.
So it's, that is definitely a positive for not only us but for the city. So one of the things Doug and I have talked about is I've been honest. Like I said, the board potentially has some questions or some apprehension about that 85%. I've had some conversations with some of you around the table. I've had questions like, what is the contract? There's different contracts around the state that are worded differently. For the districts that have been in, had some type of agreement with, typically it's a police force. It's not necessarily like a sheriff department like we would be going into agreement. They've done it for a longer period of time. When talking with Ed Durham, he shared some around the state that are at that 50% mark. They, for a long period of time, if you dive into the contract language, they started at, it was free for the school district. And then over time, the city was like, hey, they had an extra officer they could put at it, but just like everyone else, with budget reductions and those type of things, it's turned into 50%. the language in those contracts, so if you look at some of those different contracts, whether it's Cedar Rapids, used to be Des Moines, but the Des Moines Public Schools they don't have that agreement anymore. It ended in 2019. To Linmar, I think College Community, the contract language they have is a little bit different. Like we've talked about what I am proposing and what Doug and I think Brad would be interested in is to have those just be basically a CCA employee, so to speak. They would only work the hours of when our staff were there. They would start when our staff started in August. They would not do anything. They would work their 8-hour day for us. They would go home. They wouldn't be assigned to patrol on weekends. They would be encouraged to take their vacations and those type of things on our breaks. They could. They wouldn't be told they can't. They would have the opportunity to if they wanted to, but they wouldn't be expected to. And then, so they would basically be, they would be on patrol for the community of Tiffin from basically that second week of June, typically, through that second week of August. And that's where those numbers are coming from, up above that 2,184 hours a year. It equals out to about 83.3%. That being said, there are different ways we could do it, and I think, and it's up to you how you would want to look at this. I think it's important we want to be a good partner in working with Tiffin. We don't want to be adversarial, those type of things, and I don't think we would be. But when you break down, so I ran some numbers, and I'm going to have this in my Friday update as well, but at $141,000 all in is really what it costs for a deputy. And that's including everything, salary, benefits, the whole kit and caboodle, roughly ballpark. Brad said it was about $141,000. At 85%, that would cost us $119,850 a year. At 75%, you're looking at $105,750 a year. Again, I'll have these numbers in my Friday update. At 65%, you're looking at $91,650 a year. At 55%, you're looking at $77,550 a year. So it's not a small chunk of money. I think the city may be interested if we would start at a lower rate and say we would potentially work up if we liked how it was working for us. I don't know what the city council would be comfortable with as far as that bottom dollar, but I think it could be worth looking into. Hey, we're willing to start it. We want this to be a 1-year agreement. We would just work off a 1-year agreement. We'd like to start at 55%. If it goes well, we're going to agree to move up to 65 that following year. You know what I mean? To get up to 85% eventually, knowing that $141,000 number is going to continue to go up just like everything else when that deputy would get that 2% raise. And so it would be a moving target and that would slightly increase. Mm-hmm. I don't know what their bottom dollar would be. I can't speak for them. Yeah. Doug and I I have not gave him these numbers. I was going to talk through this with him tomorrow morning. Because again, just like we're going to visit about it at our next board meeting, he's going to do the same thing the night before our city council meeting in Tiffin.
Yeah.
So that is a different, if it makes you feel like we have something different than just we're locked into that 85%. Because talking with Doug, he did not feel we were locked into that. He did not also say they would commit to 55% either. Yeah. That was just an easy breakdown, percentage-wise for you guys to think about those numbers.
So Aaron, what would our officer look like as 55%? Would he be on patrol in Tiffin? The other, he wouldn't be in our building, or?
Nope. The contract would be the exact same. So basically, the city of Tiffin would just be absorbing the cost.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, that would not, and that's why, when you look at, when you run those numbers, again, I just want to make sure we're a good partner with Tiffin. Also knowing that this is a new program for us. And of course, there's questions, and we want to make sure we do this right. And I've stated publicly, I think it would benefit our middle school, high school students, but it's not a hill I'm going to die on, so to speak. You know what I mean? We have survived this point. I do think it would benefit our students and staff in those buildings. I do personally. But I also acknowledge there's a cost to it. And there's a substantial difference in costs between a deputy and a police officer. I didn't realize that until I started, I got to this position. I did not know there was such a difference. Darmon has a copy of one of them, and it's about all in for a police officer, and one of the districts was like 77,000. So when you're talking
like twice as
85% of that number, it looks a lot different for a lot of those. But when you're dealing with sheriff department, obviously the cost is higher.
Yeah, that number, it shocked me when you said it before, and even again, I hear it just, and this is again not anybody's fault. It's like the systems thing though, that like, teachers are starting at what, like 50,000 if they're lucky.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, that's like 3 teachers. Well, not with benefits and salary and stuff. So, and they're not equivalent positions.
Yeah, and this isn't out of the general.
Yeah, it's
budget,
not from that
risk.
it's not from that same fund at all. But the optics still to the general population can often be that if they don't understand funding.
It's be interesting what the stats are, and we won't know maybe till the year is up, how often they get pulled away for that emergency, interstate.
Yeah.
Boy, that would stink if it was, they got pulled away 30% of the time.
I can tell you, and again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I have stated this in some of the conversations I've had with some people around the table. Living in a community, working in a community that I would consider a lot busier than Johnson County. In my 4 years leading a building that was significantly high risk,
Right.
65 to 72% free and reduced. Those 4 years, there were less than 5 times total in 4 years that our SRO was pulled out. A couple bank robberies.
5 times in a year?
No, total in 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So again,
Never mind.
That would be pulled out. Like, I don't want to jinx Tiffin, but you're talking bank robberies. You're talking some pretty big things to call an SRO out. Something that would
Well,
really.
thanks for sharing that. I was off base,
I want
I
to
guess.
be clear there, and we wouldn't have that probably clearly defined necessarily because there's so many emergencies. But there'd definitely be an agreement. Like these would be some examples of what that, and if we ran into issues with it, we'd be able to revisit it. And that's one of the things
Right.
we'd have on a
That's
year-to-year.
why I said,
Year-to-year contract. That's why it's probably, if we would move forward and the board would decide to do this, I think a 1-year commitment makes a lot of sense because it gives us the ability, if we're not happy or if we have questions and something happens that we didn't see coming, it gives us the ability to back out of that after a year.
Was your SRO, just so I can understand, was it city or county? Was it
Police officer.
was a police officer? Is there any difference in getting called more often for deputies though? Like, is a bigger area like an 80 going through here in the hospitals and the campus?
Brad did not think so. I mean, the city is budgeted for.
Sorry, I was thinking Brad, the principal, but you
Brad.
mean Brad Kunkel. I was like, how did Brad become an expert? I got there.
Brad
I
did
got
not.
there.
So, and Doug,
Okay.
the city of Tiffin, as it's growing, is trying to grow its presence of deputies. And so
Yeah.
the city has budgeted for 2 additional starting July 1st. Currently, I think have 4. This would make 6, if I'm speaking right in those terms. I believe that's accurate.
sheriff deputies?
Yeah,
They
deputies.
don't have their own police. No.
Nope. So,
Wow, that's a lot.
Now, us having an SRO, though, I was thinking through kind of, it does help them some too on that those deputies won't be doing as many like walkthroughs of
100%.
buildings, right?
Nope.
So like we are also, because I was like, wait, why do they want to? How is this helpful to them? But like now those visits we saw and those numbers, a lot of those will be absorbed by the SRO.
most of the on-calls.
Yeah.
We talked about, we need to get clarity around that definition.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have nearly that on-calls in our, especially at the middle school, high school. Now, notice like this position is for, the middle school, high school. That could, I would like some language in there, and that's what, when I talked to Doug and Brad, some language where this person, as long as it was in Johnson County, would have to get into our buildings to do some type of activity at least once a year with our elementary students. It's just good to build that connection. I'm not sure what it would look like, for Iowa County and Amana, but we could figure something out. I just think that's an important piece to that SRO. That was probably one of the most cool things as a middle school principal, I was able to go with our SRO down to those buildings. Just for a variety of reasons. People have mixed conceptions of law enforcement today. So it's important people know that their job is to keep people safe, not to do things that would cause stress or anxiety.
Would we be involved with the hiring of selecting who this person is?
100%. I would be directly involved in that. That is a very important piece.
Nick, when you say we, you mean him?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't need a part of that.
This is something that I brought to you, so
Okay.
I want to be the person that says, I want him
Yes,
or her, so I
thank
can
you.
look at all of you and say, I'm the one who said it, so if it crashes and burns, I'm not going to blame anybody but myself. Because that is the most important piece, to get the right person.
Yeah.
And that was my role in Fort Dodge. I enjoyed that a lot because, like we all know, there's certain people in all professions that may be rock stars, but you put them in a specified field, there's a lot of law enforcement officers that wouldn't want anything to do with hanging out with middle school and high school kids all day. And there's some that would just thrive off of that.
Yeah.
So
We just sent out some communications on Monday. Have you gotten any feedback on that?
like with an update to parents, guardians?
Yeah.
I have not. I don't know if Lori has. Yeah. I did have, interestingly enough, you say it, I had a gentleman last night at the wrestling meet. He said he was waiting to see me, to thank me, because SRO is exactly what we need. I was kind of thankful, like, hey, that was awesome. First time I've heard that in like public for a one-on-one conversation. And then I get to my computer this morning, had an email from a parent saying, hey, I don't think you should have an SRO, and this is why. So it's about 50-50, really. And that's, it's a little above 50% on all of our, when you heard from staff, students, and parents and guardians, I would say it's probably in that 60% roughly-ish when you combine everything for. Knowing our percentages weren't like 100% of our people taking it, but the people who wanted to take the survey, that's really where we're at. So,
what other questions do you guys have, or what other information you feel like you need answered in thinking about this?
When you did it at Fort Dodge, was it the junior high and the high school?
So when I was middle school principal, there was one of each. And then when I moved into my central office role that year, because the city was making some reductions, that was a reduction, so that they took away one of the SROs to go back into the patrol. Mm-hmm. So they went to one, and when they went to one, they hired a director of safety and security. So the district just added the director and had one SRO.
Okay. I'm just trying to envision what the day looks like for an SRO.
Yeah. It's perfect.
I agree.
So
I totally agree.
I can speak to it. So one of the biggest, I think one of the things, the SRO at the middle school in Fort Dodge when I worked there, and I would foresee this looking very similar. That person, he or she, would be greeting kids in the morning at where they came in. They would be greeting, welcoming those kids in, whether it's middle school or high school. The day gets started. They're going to be walking the halls. They're going to be in the pod areas. Definitely going to be out and about during transition periods. A big hot, like a spot for them is in the lunch as the year progresses, their teachers will utilize them for different reasons, whether it's a skill set they can bring on leaders, a variety of things. They're pulled into classrooms, and again, that's why it's that right skill set. The things they don't do, they are not involved in any disciplinary action. I think that's a misconception. Like if let's say a child has maybe a BIP or an IEP for behaviors, or they're just having a terrible day and they're super disrespectful to an adult. That SRO is never involved in that. I mean, that is the responsibility of the behavior support staff and the building administrators and teachers, like they would on a regular basis. That is not the involvement of an SRO. The SRO would only be involved in a time where law enforcement, there was an assault, there was a theft, there was something they would be involved in, they would investigate. And so they are not hands-on. They're not putting hands on kids ever, unless there's something where someone broke a law, and that doesn't happen very often in any school. Mm-hmm. But it may happen every once in a while.
But they are fully maced and armed weapon.
Yep, that is not an option for them to not be
correct, because they could get called out immediately.
Yep.
I'll be honest, when I first heard that, I was kind of shocked, because I thought of like schools where I was like, oh, we want them arm free.
But then I was like, oh, they're walking through all the time. Anyway,
Oh,
like, you
they
know,
already are.
Yeah,
I can
I was
tell
like,
you
in my day, if the police came to the school, it was a big deal. Like you were having drug search day. Like, but now they're like in there all the time.
The amount of kids who went to talk to the SRO, it was awesome. It was just they needed another person. We had to get to a point where we had to put some protocols in place, just like when kids want to go to the nurse to get their mint, or go down and talk to the secretary so they can get out of math class. The same thing was happening with our SRO because he was building. I started with the female. She went back and forth. She got promoted, and then there was a male, and it got to the point where like he really tried to stay out of his office because kids were trying to gravitate because he was building that relationship with them, which was really cool to see. Because I just think there's a lot of people who don't have positive thoughts on law enforcement or police today, and so it's an opportunity for that to really be looked at different for kids who only hear things on the news or see one side of things.
Could you talk like at a high level what else those dollars could be used, like at a general level, what else those dollars could be used for?
For at-risk dollars?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like our at-risk right now pay for academic interventionists, they pay for, what do they pay for, coaches, ELL, counselors. We have some staff members that are like if it's an interventionist, they may be paid out of half at-risk, half title. What else? What other positions would they be? Maybe some deans, could APs, assistant principals, social worker. So I mean,
Credit recovery.
yeah, those.
Out of there.
Lori and her team do a great job really breaking that down, working with some of our directors, and then it's just a matter of like how can we best utilize it? Because again, we can manipulate and move people around. People don't care what pot of funds they're paid for. That's what we're in charge of at the district level. But trying to maximize what we can get from those dollars, I think is the most important thing. So if your question is, what are we going to do with those funds if we don't have an SRO? I don't know right now. And the reality is we want to spend those monies down as far as you can. Like we're down already. It would be less than $200,000 if we wouldn't go down this road because you'd have to subtract the $32,000 for the operational sharing. So it's pretty close. When you're looking at a 1 point over $1.7 million down to less than 200,000. So
Kind of piggyback on Braden's question. What part of the at-risk definition that we have at CCA covers the law enforcement portion of it? If we're saying the SRA need is for law enforcement only, not for discipline, what part of our definition of at-risk locally plays into the vision of law enforcement, if you know what I mean?
You mean like the definition of the at-risk program and what qualifies kids for at-risk program?
No, not that. Like, so we're using at-risk dollars to pay for something that does not have to do with attendance, credit recovery, or.
Probably the state says we can, I would guess, right?
You're asking how
We
it's
can get
permissible?
sharing dollars.
Right.
Yeah,
Well-
from the state. Like what is it, you're asking like what's it addressing within the
Right, for us to
like,
use at least at-risk dollars to pay for this position
Yeah.
instead of looking for safety grants or
Yeah.
other
I would
source of
say
funding.
my first response, I think building principals would speak probably more articulate to it. Mine would be culture climate though, safety, feeling safe when you're at school, feeling like you have support, whether and when you look at our statistics from our survey results, the majority of our families that took the survey said they believe that for some reason it would make them feel more safe or secure in buildings. We may personally disagree with that, but the survey results would indicate that. And I can tell you from working in the building, as a building principal, the position did some really good things. Just did. Feedback from staff was positive. It is really important you set some boundaries, just like any other position that would be new. What the person, as a building principal, like in our particular case, it would be, Mr. Fox and his team, Mr. Daniels and his team, really identifying what they wanted him or her to do in that building every day. That's the most important thing. It wouldn't be me dictating what that person did on a day-to-day job. I can clearly articulate what I what my experience was, what I did as a building principal, but the reality is I'm not running the building that they would be in.
And because for me, I'm always like, there's the at-risk program, which there's certain things that you qualify to be considered an at-risk program.
Yep.
And there's at-risk dollars, but that I support a lot of those programs, but it doesn't mean that like this SRO would be school-wide. It wouldn't be for the at-risk program, correct? Okay.
It is an allowable expense
Yeah.
using at-risk dollars.
Yep.
Districts that utilize an SRO, that's the pot of funds they're utilizing.
The reason for my question is, I mean, some of the stuff that we have in mind for down the road, like the Alt Ed program that you're trying to launch and the online,
Academy?
yeah, as well as, you know, our hopefully expanded Kirkwood credit within our building, so kids don't have to drive across. Those would come out of, I would assume those would qualify for at-risk dollars if we get a few teachers accredited for teaching those courses in our building, so they don't have to, our kids don't have to go to across town. So I'm just thinking ways to, if we have $200,000 in that trace, that could be used for, you know, other things. I mean, the $32,000 for the shareable, I mean, that's money available for the state, so we can use that for this pilot program that if we decide to. But the at-risk dollars being diverted towards, I guess, law enforcement, I guess, is kind of, I've tried to reconcile it. We've operated over many years with 0% FTEs for budgeting. If we have a little bit of leeway, why don't we hire extra counselors, teachers to kind of help the, you know, class sizes or other allowable spending, I guess.
Yep, and that's one of the, you've hired me to make decisions like this. And that's kind of what, you know, my responsibility is to bring ideas on what we can do with that money. And then I hope that you trust me when I'm making recommendations. You can spend money a lot of different ways. Our job is to be fiscally responsible. In my opinion, this would be fiscally using dollars in a way that would benefit our kids at CCA. When you look at, you know, you brought up the virtual academy and the alt ed programs. My long-term goal for that is we're going to grow enrollment potentially from that. And so any dollars, when you're talking, you know, we're a school district, we're not a business per se, but yet we are a business. You know, it's roughly $8,000 a student. If we gain 15, 20 students, you know, those monies we can pull from the general fund. We could hire new staff from the general fund because we're growing enrollment if we get to that point from those programs. I think we're gonna, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I feel strongly in my conversations I had over break. That doesn't mean they're gonna all come to fruition and they're all gonna come to CCA, but there was very positive conversations I had with quite a few of those families that were more than interested at least setting up a meeting with Mr. Daniel, our high school principal, to explore what that would potentially look like in more detail. So we wouldn't have to use at-risk dollars necessarily for that at Durham, because if we're growing enrollment, that's general budget money we would be able to sustain adding to programs when we're bringing in more kids.
I think one thing for me is seeing what programs an SRO could build. So what it resonated with me when you talked to the meeting, Gabe, about like law enforcement needing to be able to find people who might be interested in doing that. And I'm gonna say method of community service, that it'd be cool to have, maybe they have this, but like career day where the SRO coordinates community service members, right? Like EMTs, like all sorts, fire department coming in. You could bring in clergy, like that's community service to me, right? Like, because I think that there's a whole track of career paths that get forgotten about now. We're very like collegiate or trade school heavy, and you can do those, but also end up in a community service type position. So that would be interesting for them to help build some of that track. To also, to me, that kind of leverages the educational portion that at-risk money would be going to, maybe. And then also something that we talked about, that I've thought about some, is we keep talking about digital citizenship, and no one has time to do curriculum on that, and that's not a core component. But I think we see more and more youth sometimes crossing lines or not understanding like how laws apply even to digital content. And that's what we heard from Mr. Daniel, I think, was like how often they're calling police about social media posts or things. And so how could an SRO help like educate and build a program to educate our high school students about good digital media?
That's the type of programming they would be able to do. Tom is also very interested in like a career pathway at the high school. Having the ability for a young lady or young man at the high school to be that's interested in being a police officer eventually or in law enforcement, what that would potentially look like, and that how you could bridge that right away with a person that's those kids really get to know. And if that person makes an impact, how can we build that career pathway? And so that's something potentially we'd be able to work out if we move forward with it.
So the operational sharing comes to us, or it comes to the county. We win. Like, okay, cool. How do we get it? Oh, because we're the main hiring person. Do they get?
Because the school district gets the sharing dollars.
Oh, that's just how it works always. Okay.
Is it a matching dollar, or is it like you have to spend that much to get that much, or is it just?
No, it's just one of the list of positions that's allowed for operational sharing, and it grants for FTEs. So when we fill out our bids report, we would report that we're sharing an SRO with the city of Tiffin, and they will include that in our state aid, our supplementary weighting.
Makes that $77,000 one really beneficial. That's the only thing that's got me like surprised by the price tag.
So what was the number you got?
55 would give us 77. 55% would give us 77.
5. Yep.
And then if you subtract the 32, is that a guaranteed or?
Yeah. Yes, it's guaranteed.
Yep.
And again, I'll have those numbers. Those numbers.
Right, these are hypothetical. No.
The 141 is what Brad told me to work off of because it was all in.
That's benefits, everything.
Yep.
Yeah, as I think about it, like if we're going definitely like a 1 year to see how it goes, like in my mind, I think 60-40 would be an appropriate like starting point to see what they would say. Because I think it's just as much, maybe a little more of value to them as it is to us.
Yeah.
And we're, as much of a partner with the sheriff's office as we are the city with the school. So I think, just looking at it from a 1 year basis, see how it goes, 60-40, just, that's what popped into my head.
So what I can do, I can give more percentages. I'll add 60 just because you brought that up, Gabe.
Yeah.
In my Friday update, I'll just put so it won't look as smooth, but I'll add that 60 in there.
Yeah, I was kind of coming to this like 50. I was wondering about 50-50 to we all have equal kind of teeth in the skin of the game. Skin. What is it? Skin.
And I do think, and again, I don't want to speak for Doug. He just said he wanted you to know the city is willing to work with us, and he wanted, and that's where I think that combined meeting with the city council in February will be really good for you guys to ask questions, for them to be able to give their thoughts on it. Hopefully we can come to consensus, and then that would make life a lot easier if we get to February and be able to vote yes or no.
Yeah.
On all the information you have in front of you, especially after you talk with the city council and kind of get their take on where they're at as far as what their budget is set at, and their intention of that 40%, what they would do with that 40%, or why they would rather have it be 85%. You know what I mean? And that may be the deal breaker for either us or them. And that could be what happens. But I think being prepared and you guys having enough information to be able to make a clear decision on what you feel is best for our district is all I will ask.
What? Any other agreement, like cost share agreements, different numbers you need?
The grant that we got for building upgrades security wise, are there other grants available for
I looked into that.
sponsoring?
There's not. So, the information you shared with me, Abdurrahman, There was legislation that went into last spring. Someone presented legislation, but it never passed. I reached out to, it's called Iowa Grants, the state of Iowa. That's where Ori's team, we do a lot with state funding. And there's just nothing there. And so that's state and federal dollars. I reached out to the Department of Ed to see if there was anything coming. There's just nothing specific to it right now. There's not, it's a lot of the larger schools, of course, that are going to have the SROs most often. There could be some smaller communities that were close in proximity that may share a law enforcement officer that comes in. But yeah, unfortunately, did the legwork on that. I have not found anything as of yet. That was all of the contacts around the state that would be able to point me in the right direction.
One other thing, and it maybe has been asked before, maybe not, but I know like there's police officers or sheriff's deputies at football games, at, I don't know about basketball maybe, but do we pay for that right now? And would that be something this person could also do?
Yeah, so that would be in our contract. That's something I said at our meeting. Right now we pay 70, so we only have a deputy at home football games just because of the volume of people we have at those games. It gives me peace of mind at those events. We do not utilize a deputy at the other events, but we pay $75 a home game. And so what I asked, instead of us paying that, I mean, it's not a huge amount, but instead we would flex the SRO's hours. He's already going to know our middle school and high school students for the most. Those kids are going to know him or him or her, and it just helps build that relationship. Once you have a positive relationship, what you find in working in education is even the kids who don't like playing school, probably the way most of us played school around, just behave a little different. And that was one of the most powerful things. Is it wouldn't everybody needs a person. Every student needs a person. This is an extra person. That some students, a handful, could be 50, 100 students in the building when you're talking the middle school and high school. If you can add someone that can be a potential person on the why they want to come to school, that is worth the money. So that it would help at events like that for sure. So, but we would just flex the hours. May leave a couple hours early those weeks during the football season, a couple days a week to make up that 3-hour window of time.
Anything else?
Maybe between now and our board meeting, if there's other things you'd want, if you think of something, just let me know. Shoot me an email, and so I can have some things for you for our next board meeting. Otherwise, there won't be a lot more to discuss after tonight. But I will update you with my conversation with Doug, since we have our monthly meeting tomorrow morning.
Very good.
All right. Who would like to do the honors?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. You were very fancy. You said the whole